And we're live. Hello, everybody.
And we're live.
Back today. Recap of night 2. I keep saying it's night 2. It's not night 2. It's night 3 in a few hours, which is going to be fun. We're here. Last night was a great time. We've got a couple of great guests here today to talk about the vibe of the show. The two of them, as we'll get to, the two of them are in very different spots in the venue, so have very different perspectives on the vibes. But I'm very excited. Neil, how are you doing today?
I can't hear a thing. The Capitol Theater is loud. I have a sound hangover like you wouldn't believe. But no, feeling good. I'm stoked about tonight. We have a cryptic tweet about what to expect from tonight, which is to not expect anything. So I don't know, man. I'm really excited. This is a fun little run, and stoked to talk about this show and hear what other people have to say, because I've talked to nobody about this music yet.
Well, awesome.
So I'm excited.
Well, before we dive in, of course, a very brief word from our sponsor. Today's episode of Always Almost There is sponsored by Beekeepers Naturals. Powered by nature and obsessively tested, Beekeepers uses potent ingredients like propolis, pollen, and royal jelly, and importantly, steers clear of added chemicals. In a day and age where we want to boost our immune system as much as possible, Beekeepers Naturals has many products from lozenges to gut health supplements to support us and tap into the magic of nature. Personally, I don't leave home without one of their propolis throat sprays, which is especially helpful for a 5-night run of shows where I am basically screaming for 3 hours straight every night. Use code STORMSOUND at checkout for 20% off your order on beekeepersnaturals.com. Now, without further ado, let's bring in our guests. Let's get going. We've got Haps Inco and Mark Comito here today. Hello, gentlemen.
What's up?
Hi,
gents. How are we?
Fantastic.
Hey, everybody.
Comito, I'm very happy we were finally able to get you on the pod. We almost had you last fall. You were busy taking in the sights and sounds of New Orleans. Haps, we got you in December. Made your mark with the vibe review.
I do. Sweet Life, baby. Sweet Life at Goose, baby.
And you have, I mean, this run, you have the equivalent of the suite in the cap.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not over there in Shapiro's box, but I'm up there hanging in the balcony.
Where are you sitting, Haps?
First night, I was first row in the regular balcony, not in the loge. Is that how you pronounce it? Loge?
Loge.
Yeah. Sure. I moved over center loge with a buddy, middle second set first night, and it was beautiful. Then last night, dead center, row E, I think I was. So sound was great. I had earbuds in first night on the left side because it was just a little bit louder coming off the wall. And then dead center last night I didn't even put the earbuds in. It was good. So beautiful up there. Loved it. Great sight lines.
Nice. And Comito, of course, you're in every picture that has been posted of the crowd.
A few of them, yeah. Yeah, I guess first night I was on the rail between Rick and Peter, which was pretty great. And last night I hung back in the second, third row, dead center. And it was, drinking that stuff. So I wrote an article recently and, professing Rick to be like he's it, right? And
yes.
We probably all agree that we're sitting here on this pod talking about a show the day after, right? So we might be in agreement on that. But the one thing that I think Rick is still developing is his tone. And we saw some, pictures from the Caboose episode, like day of show, whatever, Rick and Trey huddled over, amp manuals and cabs and stuff like that. And, Rick's tone is very much a work in progress. And I feel like there's been significant progression in 2023, these last couple nights.
Agreed. Well, we've heard where you were in the venue. Let's dive into the beginning of the show. Excited to hear your guys' thoughts on this. First part of the first set. Let's just cover the first 4 songs. Jive 1, Atlas Dogs, Elizabeth, Cali Magic. Haps, take it away.
Loved the Jive 1 opener. Had it on Fantasy Goose for night 1. And they went Jive 2. And actually, I had Jive 1, Jive Lee on first night Fantasy Goose. And they went Jive 2 right in the middle of that. So that hosed me there. But then I put it back on again as the 7-pointer, hoping they come back to it, and they opened with it. So I was really stoked on that. I love it's a great opener. Totally rocking. The balcony was just dancing up a storm up there. It was really cool to see. Kind of looking around, I'm definitely a people watcher, so kind of zoned in on a couple people that are just grooving hard in front of me, and I just kind of feed off that energy. So, but I thought the jive was great. You know, musically, I'll leave that all to you. But me personally up there, I thought everyone was loving it. There was a lot of excitement, not a lot of chatter once the notes started hitting. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Jive One. I love Jive One. I was hoping I'd see a Jive Lee somewhere near the end of the show, but
Could still happen.
yeah, definitely.
Standalone Lee.
No doubt about it. Big fan of Jive One. I thought it was a great opener, good spot right there to open and get things going.
Camito,
Let's go.
beginning of the first set.
So it's interesting that you spoke specifically about the first 4 songs and drew the line at Born, because that's
Yeah.
going to be its own topic when we get there.
Yes.
Yep.
Those first 4 songs, as a run develops, and this is night 2, and we all know it's their first run longer than 2 nights ever, so like patterns begin to emerge. And one early pattern, I think, is that, and these first 4 songs kind of indicate, is that they're just absolutely smashing standard length versions of songs, like 8 to 10 minutes, hard,
Getting
fast,
it in there. Yeah.
getting it in there. But like Elizabeth detoured off course a little bit, but it didn't have to go 20 minutes. It was 3-4 minutes. They brought us back into the next song. So the other thing about those first 4 songs that I think kind of matches up with the first 2 nights in general is that the bar started high, and they raised it yesterday, and they've still not fired any bullets from their gun. Like everything, the entire arsenal is still lying in the back of the truck, so like looking at these songs that they're playing and smashing, but it's still all in front of us. So love the start. I love the start to the show.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Neil, this was your first show of the run last night.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was at the show. You didn't ask me where I was standing, but so I'll tell you now.
It's true.
And then I'll give you my opinion about
I also didn't say where I was standing, so, but
well, we were standing together, so that was nice.
Yeah. Not until the second
well, at least
set.
not until the second set. That's true. But same general area.
Yeah.
Right by the soundboard, in the case. Not a bad place to be. But yeah, first 4 songs were cool. I was stoked to hear Jive One. It's been a minute since I've heard Jive One, so I was really, really stoked on that.
You heard it at the last Goose show you were at, actually. But
it's been a minute. Anytime I hear Jive, I am stoked. So yeah, Jive, great. Always excited to hear Atlas Dogs. I really loved the jam in Elizabeth. I don't know how many minutes that was, but it felt like pretty good.
11, 12 minutes when all was said and done.
It's like pretty solid jam there. And I love a good jammed Elizabeth, as you know, as a fan of 91720. I'm always chasing those Elizabeth jams. So yeah, great first 4 songs.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, it didn't have the improvisational impact that the beginning of the first set on Wednesday had, but it was still really solid. And that's what I kind of had to remind myself, like, when they were going into Cali, I was like, okay, like, I don't need to be going in here expecting to get a 20-minute version of a song in the first 3 songs of the show just because they did it last night. And once I kind of got that preconceived notion out of my head, like I was really enjoying this first set.
But isn't it great though that they could just play these standard length versions? Like not every song has to be 20 minutes. They don't have to improvise every time. And like they just came out and smashed these sonings. Yeah. And again, took Elizabeth for that 3, 4, 5 minute walk, Neil. And it was a nice walk, but then we got right back into it. Like
that's what I've been saying about songs like Atlas Dogs or Animal, stuff like that. Like Goose needs more 5-6 minute songs. They can just throw into a set. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely something we've talked about this on the pod before. It's something they think about. It's something they focus on. I mean, there's that interview out there in the world. I forget what it is now, but where Rick is talking about listening to Cornell 77. Mm-hmm. And he says, you know what I really love about Cornell 77 is not the jams, but they just crushed every single song.
Exactly.
And that's what they were doing last night.
Exactly.
And, I was thinking of that as I was at the show. It's like, this is that kind of vibe. Not saying it's Cornell 77. I'm not saying that, but just like out there crushing songs.
No,
Yeah,
no,
Russian
but
songs.
we've seen countless, well, not countless, but we've seen a number of 9, 10 song shows. Like, it wouldn't kill me to see an 18 or 20 song show. Like,
Yep.
just a different vibe. It's a, it's a broad tapestry. Like, show me all the tools.
Right. It's interesting. And speaking of interesting, we get a new take on Born that debuts next year. We had heard when I got to the venue, I was meeting some people. We heard a little
Thanks
bit
for spoiling that, by the way.
sound check it. I asked you before I told you if you cared if I told you, so can't complain. But we heard a little bit of them working on this new double time feel Born, if you will. But I thought it was cool. I really liked the one thing that this one has over me, has over the original Born for me, is it slides into the jam much more smoothly. I felt like it as a launch pad for improvisation, this version is better. I think I still prefer the original Born just as a song. Obviously, I haven't listened to the new version nearly as much, and we don't know if this is going to be a one-off or this is how they're going to play the song going forward. But I'm interested to see how this develops, because Born is a song that has changed a lot over the past year. Haps, what did you think?
Surprised. I didn't know that they were, working on that type of, and I felt like it's been like that the last couple of shows where they're experimenting with some, tempo songs, either speed up, slow down, and it's worked. I mean, it worked with Echo when that was slow, and then that's been sped up, and that's almost like, a normal thing for them now, which is great. So, but loved it. Right when I heard it, I was like, let's go. And then all of a sudden it just like picked up. I looked at my buddy right there. I was like, ooh, let's try this out. I'm okay with that, and really loved it. Loved the tempo, loved the experiment of going, to a place that they're, I think they're comfortable doing that. I think they're comfortable changing up tempo to songs, slow to fast, fast to slow. Love that. I just love the experiment part that they're in right now in this just evolving world of their songs. And up at the balcony, dude, just the chorus part of it, everyone was singing it. It was just like, I don't know, I'm a sing along guy. I'm up there belting it out like I got a mic in front of me, and love that, hearing everyone sing. At first I was like, is that just me singing that real loud? Or is that like hearing the mics come off the walls? But I was like, no, I was kind of looking around and I just saw people's lips just going. I was like, hell yeah. I love that aspect of it when people are singing along, they know the lyrics, like, I don't know, I get that goosebump feeling when I see people just like really into the music. They're focused on what's happening, just in the moment. But overall, loved it. Can't wait to hear it again. Obviously I think there's some audios out there, some audience recordings, but I haven't heard anything yet. But looking forward to listen to that Born again. Definitely one of those things I want to go right to and hear it over again.
Mm-hmm.
I caught a clip of the first 2 minutes and posted it to YouTube, actually, just because I knew I would want to listen back to that double time beginning, that new feeling. So we talk about feeling, right? So Born is an emotionally heavy song, and I thought that that we'll call it the double time feel, right? That's what we're calling it. I thought that elevated the vibe to a lighter place, like without the typical emotional weight, that Born carries. So as a matter of fact, a number of people around me commented, and it's like one of my wife's favorite songs too, but, and she actually was one of the ones who commented, it's the first Born she didn't cry, so like that's, right. There was a notably different impact. I thought it was outstanding.
Yeah, I don't know where I stand on this Born yet. Like for the first couple of minutes of it, I was just like, yeah, I just wish I was wishing I was hearing the old Born. But then like, I don't know, I really dug it. And I was wondering what the sing-along situation was going to be like. And I think the speed did mess with it a little bit at the beginning. And then people kind of like picked it up as it went on. And like, that's a pretty cool thing that's like starting to happen, which is great. And I don't know, maybe the fact that they're messing with this song also will lead to them playing it more, right? Because it hasn't been played that much as of late, which is surprising because it's such a really, really good song.
Yeah, for the record, I have a list of about 15 top 5 songs, and Born is firmly one of them.
Yeah, no doubt.
There are a lot of top 5 Goose songs. Definitely more than 5.
I draw the line at 15.
You gotta draw the line somewhere, of course. The jam out of this Born, though, I know Neil and I'll have a couple of things to say about it, but the jam out of this Born I really liked. I think I didn't appreciate it as much in the moment. Like I remember really enjoying it, but it wasn't after the show one of the like major highlights that I was thinking of. But I went back and I listened to it this morning when I was writing my review of last night, and I was just struck by how like great it was. It was like 15 minutes or so. But just really excellent playing from the band, like playing with dynamics, getting like mellow and spacey, and just really like great. It's part of that development we've been hearing more the last few shows, where they're working on like more interplay versus Rick leading and Peter comping, or Peter leading and Rick comping. So that was really cool to hear in the Born last night.
I don't know what comping means, but I can
like
speak
playing chords underneath the lead stuff.
But I can. We actually talked about that a couple of days ago, you and I, and it's been noticeable. Watching them interact with each other. These last couple of days.
All right, and then first set closes with The Old Man's Boat and Rockdale. Boat, always a solid song in the first set. I think there's still a lot of untapped potential in that song that they're spending 11 to 13 minutes on it generally. And so I feel like, we're about due for a little bit of an extended excursion at sea, if you will, in the boat. But I mean,
you didn't use that in the article today?
I did not. I just came up with that.
You blew it.
I did. But yeah, I really liked it. Peter's vintage vibe just sounds so good in this room with that stereo console and just that, and the small enough room where you can appreciate the vibrato of it going back and forth from left to right. In bigger rooms like Goose Miss and Taboo's Tour, where it's an arena, if you're on one side, it's a lot harder to appreciate that. But I think in most of the cap, it's small enough that you can hear it going from side to side. I don't know if you all were able to hear that as well, but that's one of my favorite things about the sound so far this run.
Yeah, the sound's been beautiful in there, especially upstairs. I haven't been downstairs, but I'll be down there this whole weekend. But yeah, balcony sounded great everywhere I went. And Old Man's Boat, I love the jam at the end. Lyrics are great, really cool. But I always look forward to that ending jam. Once the lyrics end, it's always been my favorite part of that song, so I'm with you. I'm looking for a little bit more expansion at the end of it, just to see if it can go just a little bit further. I think it's going to happen at some point. Every time I hear it, I'm hoping that it goes just a little bit further, but great first set song. I knew it wasn't going to end that way. So I knew we were getting close to it, but I was like, they're not going to end here or something coming. I was thinking maybe a tumble. We were all kind of hoping for Emborg. Possibly, but I'm always searching for that song.
We all want the Emborg.
Yeah, I just want it at the end of the first set every time now. I don't know why. I just think it's a great spot for my vibe and love for that song.
Storm, we shared that back in DC. That set ending Emborg, that was magic, bro.
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
Was that three?
One of two Goose originals I have yet to see.
I have 3.
So I'm hoping for it in the next couple of days. What are your 3, Mark?
Thatch, Everything Must Go, and Mr. Action. I know we're going to get a Thatch this week.
Yeah,
should have come to
We're
Goose
getting all
Miss.
3 of those.
You should have come to Goose Miss.
Thatch is 100. I'll forever regret not going to Goose Miss. But
I've got 2
Thatch is a guarantee.
Everything Must Go.
I'm not really sure we're going to hear the other 2.
I mean, only time will tell. Because as you said,
they run.
There's also so many songs on the table.
There's so many songs left. Look, we're not even at the halfway point, but I think it's important to them to weave all the most important items in their catalog through these 5 nights. And I just don't know that Everything Must Go is going to stand up to that test. Like if it's up against something else, like they have to play Arcadia this week. They have to. Period. Stop. Right. Like they're gonna play Empress. They're gonna play This Old Sea. Like these things are all gonna happen.
I hope so.
I don't think they're going to play Everything Must Go. Like not that they will or won't, but if it's a choice, like I think that they're purposely selecting songs that they want to lay out in a career tapestry over these 5 nights.
Mark, I'll jump on that. I was hoping, it brings me back to when you say all that about Red Rocks. And I think we were all sitting around waiting for the greatest hits at Red Rocks too. And they threw Blood Buzz Ohio at us.
Scott's Life, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but it was still a
greatest
greatest hit show.
Yeah, totally. So I was like, kind of the same feeling. And I'm going into the Cap thinking the same thing you, Mark. Like they want to throw their catalog out there. It's 5 days. So, we should get most of it, but like Mr. Action, I had that on my Fantasy Goose first night. I love that song. When I heard it for the first time at New Year's, like this song is just, it gets me. I personally, and I don't know if it's about Coach, but I kind of think it is like about Coach because he's just like has done it all for that band growing
Mr.
up.
Action?
And I'm like, is this song about him? If it is,
I think it's about all of them.
Yeah,
I think it's a true testament to the whole team and the whole organization.
Yeah.
And when they show up in a room like this with a new rig for the first time ever and still learning on the fly, like we've watched these guys learn on the fly every step of the way. Yeah. And they just continue to improve. Like this is not the same band I first saw 3.5 years ago. And every time they level up, they meet the challenge, like starting with leveling up to that arena at Goose. It was awkward. The next time they got to the arena, they knocked it out of the park. So like they continue to grow and evolve, so I think it shouts out the whole team. And I think this weekend would be a great time for them to appreciate that team again.
With you on that, definitely.
I think the two of you should start the Goose Vibe podcast.
For sure.
Like I feel like Neil and I don't even need to be here. But anyway, let's get back to the show.
Listen, so people need to know about the audience and just everything, the scene and the feel good moments. Me and Mark, I feel it, dude. We're the Goosebump people that come in and let people know how we're feeling out there about that. And
everybody knows how I'm feeling when I'm feeling.
Love it.
It's hard to miss.
All right, so I use Old Man's Boat to do my veteran move at Old Man's Boat is to have a race from the first notes of Old Man's Boat to be to the bathroom and back before the jam starts. So I took a tour of the uncomfortably close urinals of the Capitol Theater men's bathroom, which I think if we're talking about the Capitol Theater, we have to talk about how awkwardly close those urinals are.
I mean, we are talking about vibe and feel. Like the vibe is
there's a certain vibe in the bathroom
down in the men's room, awkwardly comfortable.
Yeah. So, but no, it came back in time for the jam, and that was pretty good. And then we haven't talked much about this Rockdale yet.
We haven't
Rockdale.
Well, I mean, that's another topic. I'm waiting for Ryan to segue there. That's its own topic.
Neil just segued there.
Okay, sure.
I just did. I dropped a segue on us. I mean, that was fun. It's reminiscent of Goose Rockdale a little bit.
Grimy.
But that was fire. And I had so much fun in that Rockdale. Like I just completely emptied the tank dancing to that one. It was bananas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that one as well. It's that grime. It's the dirt that we saw at the beginning of the Goosemas version, where Peter's just laying into the low end of the clav without the wah on, and it just adds that filth to it. Rick gets into that dirty tone, and they're just and then peak after peak after peak
after peak after peak after peak.
Yeah. How many feet in the air you think you jumped during Rockdale?
Oh God, I was a lot. I mean, I can't dunk, but I felt like I probably could have dunked during that.
Right, you can dunk in a specific set of circumstances.
Yes,
like if somebody had put a basketball net in front of you
when a mother can lift a
peak.
car off her child because she gets that adrenaline strength.
Yeah,
I could have dunked during Rockdale last night. at any one of peaks 7 through 17, I probably could have dunked last night. So it's funny. So we saw each other at set break, and immediately, you know me, every show is best show since the last show till the next show, blah, 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 blah. I have the worst attendance bias in history and recency bias, like in the history of the world, right? So like the Rockdale that I just saw was the best Rockdale ever. And like I say that to Storm, like during intermission, and he's like, blah, blah, fucking quoting dates, and I'm like,
That's
you know what?
about right.
We are celebrating today.
I'm like, and in that moment, it occurred to me that I don't need to mention, you know, things like best ever, really, like it's just not
You're
necessary.
here for the vibe. The
Yeah,
vibe last night was that it was the best ever.
But to even talk about that stuff is divisive, right? It's argumentative and it's divisive, and
that's what this whole podcast is about.
Right. But to me, the vibe is all about harmony and light. And, you know, like every one of us who was in that room last night agree that Rockdale fucked hard.
Yeah.
Period. Stop.
It's a good consensus.
You know,
just to quickly note,
yeah.
we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the GOAT Rockdale today. So happy birthday to the Cleveland Rockdale.
Anyway. And I wanted to put it right in your Jam of the Year category, and you're like, it's not even in the bracket. And I'm like, I don't even get what you're talking about. Like I don't even get. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know.
Mark, you don't have spreadsheets, you know, just dates and everything.
No? I mean, if I'm there with my friends in the third row, it's the best Rockdale ever. You know,
I'm all about that, 100%.
Rockdale kills every time. There's never a bad Rockdale. Let's be honest. It's just
never a bad Rockdale.
Some jam a little harder than others.
It's that
you get,
signature Rick and Matt Campbell songwriting. You know, like I love it, and it gave me my first fantasy Goose hit of the night, which was very nice. I was sweating.
Yeah,
and you get a little taste of like Crazy Trainish jam in this one. Yeah, it was there. It was nearby.
It's another great
Crazy Train of Goose Miss, but.
Yeah. It's another great sing-along. I mean, like I said, up in the balcony, just like people are just screaming, singing. You could see like veins, and some people just like they were so excited because it is like I get that too. Like when I hear that first note, I'm like, "Fuck yes, let's go!"
We're going in
100%, dude. And it's just watching people just get excited. I get excited for other people getting excited. Like there's something about that. Just like I feed off the crowd, and when I see people like super stoked and singing and belting. Like I had a young lady right next to me, and we were kind of like, there was just a good energy with her, and I'm assuming her boyfriend right there. But they were just grooving. And every time I looked over there, you could just see them like singing. And like, I just love being around that. And the Rockdale it is a great first set under as well. Like I put it right out there. Like that just, when I heard, I was like, yes, we're going right into set break like this, feeling great, good energy going right into that second set.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, I think Rockdale is one of our 15 top 5 songs for the record.
Oh yeah.
And that's the excitement though that we talk about. Like, so again, the Atlas Dogs, Elizabeth, California Magic, terrific, right? But it just doesn't carry the same excitement as like, you know, like you're at a fireworks show and they're popping off the little guys, but we're all waiting for the finale, right? Like,
which was big,
you know, and yes, and when the big punch comes, like by way of these heavy hitters, it's undeniable. I mean, we lost our minds last night during that Rockdale.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Let's dive into the second set here. You know, Neil and I found each other at set break. We moved a little bit further back. I think you were a bit further back than you were during set 1 as well.
Yep.
We got a nice group shot. We saw Micah and Michael, Garrett, a couple other friends. It was lovely. Shout out to Neil's friend.
Neil's friend, yeah.
Neil's
friend.
Yeah.
I'm currently sitting in his house right now. Yeah.
And Ryan, thank you for fixing my phone as we were trying to get that group photo. And like it's those like the iPhone feature or something, but like it's the one like when you're inside and you press it and the exposure is super slow. And it's like everyone stay still as long as you can. And I didn't know what I was like, and after the picture's like, well, that didn't come out good at all. So Ryan's over there fixing my phone as tech guy. I was like, all right, let's do this again, kids.
Awesome.
It was an adorable moment. This young man fixing the old man's phone 100%, and handing it back to him.
Geriatric wing people don't know what we're doing. I'm a teacher too that uses technology. I'm sitting there like,
bro, I always look for a proper millennial when I need a good group shot.
First of all, I'm too young to be a millennial, but that's besides the point. I'm Gen Z.
Hey, let's talk about this huge set of music.
Let's talk about this tumble. Let's get into this tumble here. Very excited to hear this opening the set. You know, obviously tumble always delivers, as do,
Always.
all these songs. But
I think
Tumble's
Tumble's my
awesome.
most heard song.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining about lots of tumbles. I love this. I'm still chasing vibey tumble. I very much
Stumble.
would love to see a vibey tumble.
Do you
or
mean
like
stumble?
vibey tumble, tumble.
Tumblay greater than
Tumblay.
stumble.
I mean, my ideal situation is what they did in New Orleans, like
That's
on a
slow.
whim, which was the
That's slow.
Tumblay into the regular composed section and jam, which was sick. But last night's was great. Nice little pick up the pieces tease from Rick, which I'm
You
very
won
excited
$20.
about.
Tell everybody you won $20. Tell us about it.
That's not a story for the pod.
Okay.
But I won $20 in some fashion.
I didn't hear it in the moment, and you were right next to me when it happened, and you were like,
You
"Pick up
didn't
the
hear
pieces."
me
I was
yell
like,
it?
"What?" I heard you yell it, but I
Yeah.
didn't hear the actual tease. But
It's there. It was heard and corroborated by a lot of people. Just for anybody who's listening who may be confused, it is not the Widespread Panic song, Picking Up the Pieces. It is Pick Up the Pieces by Average White Band.
Average White Band.
Yes.
Sure.
So, but anyway, this tumble, great tumble. What do you guys think of this tumble?
Years ago, I wrote in an article. I think it was at Frederick in 21. I
That was a
wrote,
great tumble.
"Is every tumble the greatest tumble ever?" Like, probably not, right? But it sure feels that way when you're there.
I feel like you, after any show, could like fill in the blank. Like, is every blank the greatest blank ever? And like, you're feeling that in some way after every night.
Let me look at my list. Rockdale qualifies last night, and Tumble qualifies, but nothing else does.
Okay,
ooh,
interesting.
Not everything qualifies for best ever.
But it was the best show since the last show until the next show.
100%.
Good. Okay, Haps,
100.
Tumble.
100%. Oh, loved it. Like Tumble is one of those songs that first time I heard it years ago, I thought it was just a funny song about, like falling down, tripping, blah, blah, blah. But, I'm a lyric guy. I like to kind of put meaning to it. Side note for a second, I had to take this American English literature class in college, and I was ignoring it my freshman year because I hate to read. I have dyslexia, so my eyes just like, it ain't working. So I played it off and pushed it on the side. I had to take it my senior year. Well, I took it with this lady from England teaching major American writers. And so what she did was she was like, you know what, like, we're not going to read all this stuff, but what we're going to do is like, I want you to just read a small passage and then tell me what you think it is. So like Thoreau, Walden, stuff like that. I'm like, just tell me what you think that lyric means, like, to you. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I take that into the music scene. Like, I took her thoughts about a class that I didn't even want to take, that like, I now look back, like, I love this class. Right. Because I can interpret the music how I want it to, or the poems and stuff how I want. And I take that into the music scene. And so after the Tumble, first time I kind of heard it back there, I was like, like, it's a funny song. But then I kind of listened to it again and I was like, you know what, like, it has a lot of meaning and I love it. And it gives that passion for me about, like, yo, if you hit a roadblock, dude, if there's something in your life, like, like we all go through stuff, like, and as a teacher, I teach students, and it's a song that brings a little bit more emotion to me every time I hear it. Just because I have students that I see going through things, and like, I'm always behind them, like, yo, like, let's keep going, dude. Like, one foot in front of the other, just pick yourself up, like, let's grind through this together. It's a long year. So like, I kind of interpret lyrics that way, and I kind of put it into my own world and people around me, and Tumble's that song. Like, I think it's a beautifully written song. I love the lyrics behind it, and anytime it gets played, I love it, and I love the jam in it. So, yeah.
Okay, let me jump back in for a second here. First of all, Peter's guitar was so groovy. I love two guitar Goose, and sometimes I forget how good two guitar Goose is until I see two guitar Goose, and we forget how good a guitar player is when Peter's standing next to Rick, because Rick is Rick, right? But Peter can play, and he's got the vibe down pat. He's got a different style. He created that groovy vibe, but then the interplay you're talking about, Rick picked up on it, with his big Rick energy, and my notes say right here at the 25-minute mark when this Tumble ended, that's as good as live music gets right now. Under the lights, the sound in that room. No, like, really, I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
no.
it's just like when I go out to a concert, that is everything I want to experience, from the sound to the lights to the vibe of the room, the crowd, people throwing down hard, the band creating in the moment. You're in a beautiful space in a historic theater. It was everything, everything.
Yeah, I'll just pick up on what you were saying, Mark. We talked about this on the podcast yesterday, and as like the president of the Two Guitar Goose fan club, when there are two guitars out there, and I said this yesterday, naturally your ear is drawn to the lead instrument, right? Like your ear wants to hear that lead instrument. But if you shift your focus to the things that Peter is doing, and this holds true for this tumble as well, you will not be disappointed if you just listen very closely in on what he's doing, because he does such amazing stuff. I don't really have thoughts on this tumble jam. I haven't been able to go back and listen to it yet. It was roughly 25 minutes. My phone stayed in my pocket the whole time, and I was just completely locked in on this tumble. Completely locked in. So there you go.
Nice Storm.
What did you think of it, Ryan?
I really liked it. Again, that two guitar thing, we've seen in a lot of tumbles, especially in the fall, that Peter would pretty quickly switch over to piano or some sort of keyboards during the tumble jam. And so I really enjoyed, we've seen a lot more two guitar improv the past couple of nights already, where in October and November, he was routinely going over the keys. So really great to hear that kind of come back. This tumble was great. I don't know. Again, I skimmed it a little bit this morning as I was writing my reviews, just to make sure, I got all the, I didn't skip over any significant improvisational sections. But to me, it felt like it was a pretty standard tumble fare for most of it. And then there were a few minutes of like really good stuff. But that's not discounting the fact that it was still a really amazing, 20+ minute tumble. But I do want to get into, I want to talk about Not Alone, the new song that debuted last night after Tumble. I love this. It has that classic, like Rick feel to it for sure. Amazing ballad. I think this is going to be a phenomenal addition to their catalog. Like, there hasn't been a song that they've debuted recently that I, haven't like been drawn to, I guess Everything Must Go took a couple of versions, but most of the songs they've debuted in the last year plus have immediately been a hit. Like, you hear it once and you're like, yes, like this is a great addition to the Goose catalog. I want to hear this song again immediately. Obviously few on the level of something like Thatch, but this is a great song and I loved it. What did you guys think?
I texted you right away. I was like, "What is this?" Because
I sent some messages out to my network.
Many people. I was like, "What is this?" You're like, "I don't know." I was like, "Oh, good. I don't feel as bad." So I loved it. That was a really well written song. Got to hear it a bunch more just to like get it. But first,
I posted a full video on my YouTube channel.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Right from the sweet spot.
Thank you for your service.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I've been expecting a couple of debuts. I thought we'd get 2-3 over the course of the run. I'm surprised they waited till day 2 to bust one out. But yeah, I've been expecting something. It was absolutely beautiful. And I did read your review, Ryan, and it was the perfect spot for it as well. Like this band has a lot of full steam energy. And sometimes you just got to relax into a more tender piece of music, and get your sea legs back under you before with the Rosewood that followed and just like took us into the stratosphere again. It was perfect placement for a beautiful new addition to the catalog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, I'll take a Rick ballad anytime. Doesn't matter. Just keep pumping them out, dude.
Any day
Amen.
of the week.
Amen.
Agreed. Well, this Rosewood, I definitely want to talk about. Really cool jam in this Rosewood. Normally we're used to with Rosewood, there's kind of 2 jam sections that happens. There's the initial Rosewood peak, and then they'll usually take it into some other section if they're going to jam it out. Last night, instead of going into the initial Rosewood peak, they immediately got like funky, like, just completely out of the box. Peter was doing some like this ascending lick that sounded kind of like the vibraphone. But it was on the Prophet synth when the vibraphone sound that he uses is on his Nord. So it was interesting to hear, but I really loved the groove they got into in this jam. Felt really unique, and I'm looking forward to listening to this back a lot more when we get these boards.
It was at this point of the night that I had already sweat through my second set shirt after my halftime wardrobe change. Yeah, got me grooving for sure.
It's a full workout.
And then some.
Yeah.
Hug me at intermission at your own peril.
Yeah.
This is like the beginning. This Rosewood is the beginning of 49 minutes of just absolute blazing madness for the rest of this show.
Yes.
And man, I was really stoked to hear this Rosewood. I was stoked that in this, and I think that the Madavon that comes later just sounded different. It sounded completely different. And like I said, I have not yet had a chance to go back and listen to this stuff. But yeah, killer and super fun. I danced my ass off during that.
Hell yeah. Haps, what did you think?
Yeah, the for the Not Alone, you know, most people need a breather up in the seat. You got a seat, you use it for a minute, you know, especially with some old legs like myself. So I didn't sit down. I almost am against that. I have that brain, like I can't sit. If I sit, I won't get back up, you know, type of mentality, even though I have a nice comfy seat right there. But a lot of the audience was like, you know, they took a breather, which, you know, they have the chair, do it. But right when Rosewood, that first note hit up, it was just like all of a sudden, like it was like an army at attention. Everyone just got right back up like that. It was like so cool. It's like, oh, hell yeah. And I'm of the opinion like every Rosewood is the best Rosewood. Like I love that song. It's beautiful. Peter on piano every time it hits right after the lyrics.
Yeah.
He just walks right down the piano there. I'm there just fingering it as he's doing it right there. Oh, that sounded right. But you know what I mean?
Yes. we get what the point.
Shout out to Women's International Day the other night.
It wasn't as bad until you pointed at it, Haps.
From there, we move into Sinnerman. I love their cover of this song. You know, I don't always notice the different feel or different arrangement that they play with it. But, you know, I love it. Very like, you know, like pulsing groove to it. I love the piano section, like the piano part that Peter's got going. But it's just a really great cover. You know, they've only played, I believe, they've only played 5 times now. Five. I've seen 2 of them.
I've seen 3.
Yeah, me too. In Kevin's words, it was boiling. Just like amazing when he said it. I was like, oh yeah. I mean, it actually does have that kind of like that rolling kind of feel to it. But yeah, man, killer. This was my second Sinnerman, and I wish they played it more. I mean, it just gets so like wound up in the kind of the jam sequence. It's just amazing. And then Rick's voice on it is just great.
Power. I love it.
Yeah. I mean,
I like the fast pace.
Doesn't get that many opportunities. Well, I mean, there was a lot of fast-paced stuff in the show, right? There was like that Faster Born, that Rockdale got like super fast, and then like this Sinnerman got pretty frenetic too. Yeah, I mean, like that was absurdly fast. I can't believe we didn't talk about that.
Camito, you have the set list. How many BPM was Sinnerman?
129.
Pretty fast.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means, but
yeah, me neither.
Beats per minute.
Brian explained the numbers to me before we started.
It's for the 2 songs last night that they used the click track for. So they set the tempo for that song.
So that particular, you know, you'll take a Rick ballad any day. I'll take Rick reworking a Nina Simone ballad any day. This is like the most powerful, and I'm choosing my words carefully, powerful songs in the catalog. And, you know, as we talk about vibe and feel, and I've been talking about, you know, the tapestry that is this run of shows. You know, I thought with the Electric Avenue thing, you know, from Wednesday's opener, that like put the electric current in place, you know, like this picked up that constant thread of power, you know, that's flowing through the tapestry and the set lists. And I'll have more to say on that when we pick up the loose ends in the Madhuvan, but that's somebody else's segue.
Yes. Well, that was a pretty good segue that you just did there. Yeah, that was,
all right.
That's all you. Just talk about the Madhuvan, Camito. Yeah.
So that's another one. Is every Madhuvan the best Madhuvan ever? Definitely
Noah
Yes.
Ray.
Noah Ray would say yes.
Noted
Uh,
Madhavan fluffer.
So I
I saw him on Twitter this morning say that.
Yeah,
so
he hasn't heard it yet.
Madhuvan always delivers. But
Yes.
I personally would not call last night a best ever version, but it delivered as it always does. I loved in the beginning of the song. I'm actually just going to take a peek at my notes.
Yes.
I thought that they were more. Let's see here.
Well, Peter did that thing that I absolutely love, where he's playing guitar and keys at the same time. He's playing these like low, tones on the vintage vibe with his left hand, and then with his right hand, he's like creating some feedback or some other textures with the guitar, and the combination of those two at the beginning of this jam is really cool.
So my notes say developing slow, confident, patient, listening, waiting, creating space, negative space, doing something, doing nothing.
Poetry. That's beautiful.
But all that stuff happened, and it's not like Goose, like, we use the word ballistic talking about the Rockdale. Goose is often ballistic. I sweat through my clothes. I dance hard, and they're learning patience. And they exhibited some of that patience during the Madhuvan, and I think that those are the really special moments. I'm just gonna bring this up now too. So the loose ends that they teased, not teased, they played it for a full couple minutes. They played it, I thought I also heard it in Born. I thought I heard a little bit of it, like Phantom. I've been hearing Phantom loose ends teases for 2 days. And I don't think they're Phantom teases. So it happened during
Find
the
me a
drive.
timestamp.
I can't. I can't do that now. But we know it definitively happened during Drive.
Yep.
And it definitively happened last night during Madhuvan.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope I didn't spoil it by putting it in writing or now vocalizing it, because it's in the review that I wrote today too. But loose ends are the common thread that will weave together every night of this run. We're going to hear it again tonight, and we're going to hear it again tomorrow, and we're going to hear it again Sunday.
So what you're saying is,
I'm saying it's intentional.
Right? Are we going to get? Do you think we're going to get a full performance of loose ends, like with vocals on Sunday?
I mean, that would be like the culmination, wouldn't it?
If so, Bruce Robinson might jump off the balcony, because he's over there both nights when it started. He's over there just almost falling off the balcony right there. And then he gets pissed when they stop. I see him yelling at Rick right there. I'm just laughing at him.
From the moment they released the images of their posters for this run, and if you were to own just one of those posters, that it's a beautiful piece of art that you can hang on your wall. And if you only see one show, right, you had a great night, and it stands alone, and it doesn't need anything else to make it shine or make it better. Mm-hmm. But collectively, these, each of the three artists made 3 posters, 12 by 24, that fit together to make a triptych. And the two triptychs fit together to make this 36 by 48 6-piece collage, right, that tells the whole story of the run. And you watch how the fronds on the palms and the leaves tie from one one poster to the next, and loose ends are the thread that are going to tie every one of these set lists together.
Wow,
that's
and I saw it before it happened, and when they played loose ends on Wednesday night, I wasn't surprised. And when I heard it last night in Born, even though I can't prove that it happened, when I heard that Phantom tease, the theory was corroborated. Then when it actually happened, for everybody to, that one wasn't just in my mind. It has. I can't see it any other way, and I hope I didn't ruin it by putting it out in the universe.
Well, I'm excited to see whether that comes to fruition or not. That'll be good. We'll definitely make sure we talk about it on the pod tomorrow. But I do want to talk more about this Madhuvan jam. Neil, you haven't really weighed in on it yet.
No, why don't you go ahead? I will say this one thing.
Yes.
So I don't want to drag this out, but I did call that loose ends, and Ryan was like, "No,
this is not he heard it before I did. It's true. That did happen. It did happen.
But no, my memory of the show gets really hazy at this point. I just remember this Madhuvan not being a very typical Madavon. And I'm excited to go back and check this one out.
It reminded me a lot, the first piece of the jam reminded me a lot of the Glens Falls Madavon from Taboo's tour. That kind of, Peter laying down the textures on vintage vibe. It has this dark tone. It has this ominous tone. There's synthesizers coming in. But it was a really, really good Madavon. Like we've seen Madavon jams before where they'll kind of like Royal Oak last year comes to mind, where they'll play around with some darkness for like a minute or two and then emerge from that and then play pretty standard 15 minutes of Madavon jamming. Last night did not feel like that at all. Great segment with Peter on guitar, then great segment with Peter on keys to finish it off. I'm really excited to have this one in rotation. Camito, you mentioned maybe not a best ever version. Is it better than Rally last year? Definitely not.
What'd you say? What say Raleigh again?
Rally. I got
He's
made
Canadian.
fun of.
He's Canadian.
People will hear if they listen to the first episode of my new Snarky Puppy podcast, but Megan makes fun of me for pronouncing it wrong on that episode as well.
I'm not making fun of you. I just want to hear you say it again.
But amazing Madavon. That's the point here. And Turn Clouds Encore. I think Neil and I were saying to each other, like,
Turn Clouds is the perfect encore. It's a perfect encore.
Agreed.
Yeah. I was worried about the time because they went off at like 12:04, I think, last night, or 12:03. And so I we were wondering if they were gonna like cut the solo short or to end at 12, but I guess they
I've seen enough shows in this room. Like, I don't think it matters. It really doesn't.
Awesome.
I've seen shows go till 12:30 there. Like, nobody's kicking these guys off the stage. Not in the middle of a 5-night run.
Okay.
It's not happening. And that freedom that they're playing with, like, we watched this band be up against the clock so many times.
Yeah.
So many times, and I think they're playing with a different freedom, kind of just like not even worrying or thinking about that. Like, on the first night in particular, like, they could have ended the first set after what was before So Ready. But like, they didn't need to play that So Ready. Like, they could have ended the set at, 80 minutes. Everybody would have been happy, and they tacked on 14 minutes So Ready and just ripped it, same with the second set. Like, they didn't need to play Your Ocean, right? It was beautiful and it was terrific. And they had the freedom to do all that and then come back for a 15-minute Pancakes encore. So I think that frees up their mind, when they're not staring at a clock. And it's definitely not an issue in this venue.
Got it. Well, that brings us to the end of our recap of last night's show. Thank you, Haps and Camito, for being on today. Look forward to having you guys on again soon. I know we've got a full Haps family recap happening later this spring, which is going to be lots of fun. But, obviously we'll see you guys in a couple hours at the Cap. We'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, 3:00 Eastern, as we recap tonight's show. We've got obviously more special guests coming. Whether you are on the couch or at the show tonight, have a great time. Take in the vibe around you. And thank you for tuning into this episode of Day After